On December 13th, it was discovered that a massive cyber attack had been discovered. The cyber attack had happened on a company called SolarWinds. And SolarWinds is a vendor to a ton of organizations, a ton. They provide IT management software for a ton of different companies. The suspected attacker is suspected to be of Russian origin, suspected to be the nickname Cozy Bear threat actor, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And what happened is the attacker Trojanized the SolarWinds platform, and then they were able to send malicious code embedded in the actual product that was downloaded by clients of SolarWinds. We're going to kind of break that down as well here in a second as well, but I'm just going to give a brief overview, then we'll dive in. Now, some of those downhill clients include entities in the US government, a ton of entities in the Fortune 500, and many more, including Microsoft and FireEye, which is a cybersecurity company, had announced a week ahead of this announcement that they had been breached. And as part of that investigation, they realized that it was their SolarWinds backend that had been compromised. And that's actually what led to this discovery that SolarWinds had been breached. Now, I mentioned that the SolarWinds product had been Trojanized. So what that means is the attackers basically were able to make malicious a legitimate program. So, whenever between the months of March and July, whenever a client went to either upgrade their SolarWinds platform or download a new instance of SolarWinds, they were actually downloading a malicious copy of SolarWinds that included a Datalink library that had been, broken, I guess you could say, by the attackers. It included a program that allowed the attackers to gain access into your network. Now let's break it down some other things. Let's break down Cozy Bear and attribution. Now, an important thing to understand about attribution in cyber attacks is it's very difficult, especially this early. So they say, right now it's suspected to be of Russian origin, but definitely do include a degree of skepticism with that. That's not to say it isn't, but it does take a long time. It takes some investigative work. And the reason for that is anybody can use proxy networks, right? So the reason that they believe it's Cozy Bear is, maybe it might include a specific pattern of activity that mirrors other activities that Cozy Bear has done before. There's a threat actor profile that's built out by every threat actor out there. And so Cozy Bear has specific tools, tactics, and procedures that they like to do, tools, techniques, and procedures that they like to do in their attacks. And this kind of fits into their threat actor profile. That's not to say that another threat actor could mimic, those tools, techniques, and procedures in this particular attack to kind of cause some misattribution, but that's kind of a discussion for later, honestly. But what we need to know right now is that as of now, it is of Russian origin, or right now it's suspected that it is of Russian origin. Now, SolarWinds is a company, it's called SolarWinds, and they have a product called Orion it's SolarWinds Orion, I should say. That is their IT management product, and that is what was exploited by the target. So they were able to get into a specific Datalink library. They were able to inject some malicious code that allowed them to access and expand their reach in a target network. And it was just such a tiny, minute little change, something that developers really, you wouldn't really notice unless you were checking this Datalink library just about any time, any day, right? And they were able to stay under the radar really until FireEye came out and said, hey, this is how we got attacked. And so that Datalink library was wrapped into the entire package because, again, as far as SolarWinds developers were concerned, that's part of the package. There have been no changes to this Datalink library. And then that entire program was shipped out to clients in the form of an upgrade, a version upgrade.
And any time they went into upgrade or change SolarWinds to produce an upgrade, that included, of course, that Datalink library. So for multiple instances of SolarWinds, the attacker was able to maintain Trojanized access to this product and basically gain access to anybody that downloaded an instance of SolarWinds, which included just about all of their clients, right? So it was effectively a supply chain attack, right? So, a company, let's say company A uses SolarWinds as their IT management solution. Well, that would be their third-party supplier. They're part of their supply chain. Well, they trust that SolarWinds is taking care of security and that SolarWinds, is providing legitimate products, which they are. They are, to be fair. It's just this instance that, they suffered a breach. And of course, whenever company A downloads an updated version of SolarWinds, and of course, SolarWinds will post a hash, which again, here's a link for the hash video. But whenever SolarWinds pushes a link, or they post a link of the version update, they'll include a hash of their SolarWinds product, which, if you remember, whenever you make a hash, there cannot be any changes to produce a unique hash. If you go in and you change even one character in the entire program of SolarWinds, and then you hash that program, it's going to produce a completely different hash. So that's how you can tell if the program that you're downloading is legitimate, is if you download something and you make a hash of that program. If that hash matches the hash that's on their website, then you know that it's been unaltered. It's a legitimate application. Well, remember, the attacker altered the application during development or while they, a long time before they made the hash. They make the hash just prior to actually posting the link for the release, right? And so that hash includes, the malicious Datalink library. So you download the version of SolarWinds, you check your hash, and you see that it's the exact same on the SolarWinds website. So you assume that it's safe. So of course you run it, you add it into your IT network, and you think all is well. When in fact, as we can see, all is not necessarily well. The attackers may have access to your network. Now, I do want to clarify something here that I'm seeing a lot of whenever it comes to coverage on this attack, is people are calling this a cyber war, and I want to talk about this first. This is not a cyber war. This is just a cyber attack. Things happen like this, unfortunately, kind of a lot. A cyber war is kind of more of a concept where, you have, let's say, two particular sides that are just kind of going after each other. They're launching cyber attacks against each other. This is not a cyber war. This is a cyber attack. So that's something we need to clarify right out. It's really just a way to get clicks, make a headline, kind of blow up. But this is just a cyber attack, not a cyber war. Now, we also want to understand that this isn't even really the actual attack. This is just to gain access to a network, right? If you think about, what this does, remember, the actual attack takes place after you have access to the network. Well, they've Trojanized this application to gain access to the networks of the clients of SolarWinds. So now that they've gained access, now it's time to see what the attack is actually going to look like. What kind of data is the attacker exfiltrating? What actual objective does the attacker have now that they have exploited SolarWinds? They know that, the true targets, which are the clients downstream of SolarWinds, have downloaded the malicious version of SolarWinds and run the program, thereby giving them access to the particular network. Now that they have access to the target network, it's just time to see what happens, what they actually want to do here. Now, if you are watching this video, if your organization uses SolarWinds, obviously, this is something to be interested in. I assume if you're watching this video, you are interested in it. So just check what version you're running. Make sure that you're not running a version that was released during that time. And if so, you might want to revert back to an earlier version, for now, or try to communicate and see if there's a release of SolarWinds that is, that the proper configuration change has been made. Check the SolarWinds website. I know that they're, being active and tackling this issue. There's been some word that, it's been confirmed that Microsoft has also been breached. So, just make sure that, your Office 365 infrastructure is also working normally. Check the versions that you're running. Make sure that you're talking to your third parties, making sure that they're also they're on it and they're looking into this issue as well. So there's going to be a lot of fear because of this, that your supply chain is going to be your number one threat, but that's not particularly true. In this instance, the supply chain was a great target to pick from the attacker's perspective. However, that doesn't mean that for your organization, the supply chain is going to be your number one weakness. That's not always the case. You may have excellent third-party providers that are on it whenever it comes to security. There is no, breach to worry about with your third party. And really your main weakness is going to come elsewhere. But that being said, you do want to have a high degree of skepticism whenever it comes to security. Trust but verify. You always want to trust but verify when it comes to security. So with that, we're going to be monitoring the situation, obviously. If you watch this video, if you are a non-technical person and some of this was kind of confusing, hey, you're in the right place. Here's a link to a playlist that might be helpful where I talk about other cybersecurity concepts. Those will probably clear up a little bit more in this video, but definitely subscribe for more content. I mean, I'm posting every week, and the whole point of this channel is to make sure that, incidents like this, that can be pretty confusing for, non-technical people, that it's actually understandable, right? That I can translate it, and that you also have a place to go to kind of break down some of these other topics and understand it. So, with that, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you later. Bye.